The best way to get better at programming is to practice. In this example, we're going to use nested loops in order to display a box of characters, something that just looks like a simple block. You can pause this video so you can practice on your own, and then restart it to check your answer or in case you get stuck. Alright, so let's get started. This is going to be really easy because we've specified the character height and width. So I'm going to put this in a variable called size, and it's going to equal 10. I'm also going to have a variable called char, short for character. That's going to be what character do we want to print out. And you'll see why we're going to put those in variables in just a second. So the next thing we're going to do is we need to have a loop, which is going to allow us to loop through each row. So our outer loop is going to actually display our rows. And because we know we're doing this a set number of times, the for loop is a perfect loop to use. So I'm going to say for I in range size. Now we're going to need to do the columns in that row, and that's going to be our inner loop. So anything that's inside of a for block or a while block can be any legal Python code. And this is going to include, of course, other for loops. Now, I don't want to use I as my variable because that's already being used. So I'm going to use J. And notice that once again, it's range size. At the end of each loop, I have a colon just like I normally would. And I'm going to say print char. Now my print command is normally going to put a new line. So I would just have a whole bunch of new lines, and that's not correct. So I'm going to specify comma end equals, and I'm going to use the empty quotes. So this way, they'll just print the X, 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 X right next to each other one at a time. Now the problem with this is right now all of them would be on the exact same line. And remember, I need a block. That outer loop is going to print my rows. The inner loop is the columns within that row. So I've got the columns down, but I don't know how to move to another row. Well, that's easy. I'm just going to print. Notice with this print, it's empty. I'm not putting anything in my in parameter, so that way I can go to a new line. I'm going to run this, and you'll notice I have my box. Now, it does look like it's taller than it is wide. That's just because of the shape of the lines in the terminal window. Now, you might have asked, okay, well, why do I have my size 10 and my char? Well, there's a couple of reasons, but number one is I can adjust the size of my box by getting different input from the user if I want to. And this is relatively easy. I could simply say int input and likewise with the char, I can say input. Now since this is a character, we don't have to think about converting it to a number. So I'm just going to leave regular input. And with those two simple changes, if I come in here and run, it's going to ask, okay, how many characters do I want? I'm just going to say 5. And what do I want to display? We'll do Y. And you'll notice you can see that there. I can go, of course, larger if I want. And say, let's do 15. And I'll do a $sign to show that it doesn't have to be a letter. And you can see that there. So this gives us a lot of control and flexibility by using a variable that we can then go in and modify later. Whether we modify it inside our code or we ask for input from the user, it just gives that flexibility. Keep watching our other videos to get more practice in Python programming.